And welcome to the Hard Rock Cafe BC Football Show. I'm Greg Kerr. I'll introduce this gentleman in a moment. As all season long, we're going to be talking some BC football. We're going to chronicle the season. This is sort of going to be an abbreviated show here at the Hard Rock. And we are here at 7 p.m. The rest of the year will be at different locations throughout town. And those will usually be at 12:30 in the afternoon. Those will be hour-long segments. But we're going to have an abbreviated show here today before the season begins. When we do get into the season, we're going to have highlights of each of those games that are played. So this time next week, we'll be showing highlights of the what we hope to be a win over Santa Ana as the Renegades embark on their second season under head coach Tyler Thompson. So we're looking forward to that. And it's also the 100th year of BC football. So what a great season and time to have this as well. In fact, I did a little research, if you will. I've been around for 40 of the 100 years. It may look like I've been around longer, but I've been around for 40 of them. And I got to thinking about Memorial Stadium, because what a jewel it is when you think about that stadium. And if you travel across this state and you see the other schools and the fields and stadiums they play in, some of them very nice, but nothing like Bakersfield College and what they have at Memorial Stadium. It was built in 1955, and I decided to look up a few things because AI is a wonderful thing sometimes. It seats 19,468 people. Cost, now these are $1955, $1.2 million. Right now you probably couldn't build a bathroom for that, but it was $1.2 million, double-decker, and was also modeled after Rice University Stadium, but scaled down to 1/3. I did not know that. So Rice University. Also very interesting is the fact that it was completed before the main campus was even completed. So they had the stadium there before the campus. Football games were played there before classrooms even opened. In fact, when the students were there to have lunch, they had lunch at the concession stand at the football stadium because the cafeteria wasn't there yet. So that's how long the stadium's been around, and what a great venue it is. And then they've had some updates. They did a retrofitting in 1999 for possible earthquakes, and then in 2019 they installed the artificial turf, which again just looks beautiful. When you think about now the dorms that have just been built and the new facility for basketball and the locker rooms, it looks like a Division I campus. It really does. That's not blowing smoke. They really have done a wonderful job to that end. And with that, the man sitting next to me, the athletics director at Bakersfield College, Lynn Kennedy. Lynn, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Everything I said about just the campus and the look. Wow, is it not just impressive?
No, it's true. You hit it on it. I mean, I've been at Division I level, FCS football, and what we have as far as resources and facilities is at that level. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why it brought me to BC and BC Athletics in Bakersfield was the excitement of the history and the past of not only football, but a lot of our sports, and then just what we have as far as resources and facilities and what we can give back to our student athletes.
What excites you about this 100th season of football coming up for the Renegades?
It's exciting. I mean, to think about 100 seasons of anything. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, just the history of our football team and what they've meant to our community and to BC Athletics and BC as a whole. And, you know, just talking to a few of the alumni and the players that have played in the past and hearing about the 25,000 people that are in Memorial Stadium and hearing about how exciting it was. And it was almost like a mini earthquake, you know, how loud it got. And even looking back to 2012, our last state championship, and hearing about those times, I mean, that's what we want to get back. And it's exciting to look forward to our Saturday game and think about this season and the possibilities of maybe, you know, getting a repeat on the 100th season. That would be so exciting to have happen.
You know, you talked about the crowds, and, you know, my memory bank goes back to, I got here in 87. 88, they played for the national championship against Fullerton, and that place was packed. And, of course, they won the game in the last minute. Then they played the back-to-back Potato Bowls against Taft College, and they say it seats 19,000 something. There was more.
I've heard the story. I think it keeps growing, but you hear the story.
One day people will tell you it was 40,000.
I keep hearing 25,
but it was a large crowd, and the atmosphere was unbelievable. And you talked about getting back to that. Now I know there's the proliferation of cable, and people can sit on their couch and watch 30 games, without leaving their house. You couldn't do that in the 80s. But how do we crack that nut and get more people into the stands?
I think this is a start, by having the coaches show. We want to promote and market our football team and all of our sports. And so, getting to venues every week and talking about BC athletics and really football this week and showcasing who we are as an athletic department, but also our football team and the exciting season they're going to have this year. I think that's the start of it. I think just putting a lot more into our games and the entertainment value that you can come out and see a great, not only product on the field, but the entire entertainment process of going to a game, the tailgating, seeing people that just reminiscing about the past as far as the football team, and then you've got to win. I mean, we got to be serious about that because winning changes everything. I think if you can put a good team on the field and win games, it changes really your attendance and the value of the product that you're putting on the field.
You're right, because that 2012 team you referenced that played for state and won a state championship, that had about 17,000. That was the first large crowd I had seen since the Potato Bowls back against Taft College. And winning is, solves a lot of,
solves a lot of problems,
a lot of issues, if you will. There's no doubt about it. But also, I think one of the things that is great about this program is 90% of it is homegrown.
Yes.
You look at the roster, it's dotted with kids not only from Bakersfield, but Delano and McFarland and Tehachapi and all these surrounding areas, Taft, in fact. So that is a great part of it as well.
Yeah, I've been out to a few practices and then seeing the scrimmage last Thursday and just seeing the student athletes and how hard they're working, and that they're Bakersfield products and from this area and this region, and they're putting their heart and soul on the field. You can see that. Some ups and downs as far as the scrimmage Thursday because we're a young team, but they responded, and I told Coach too earlier, you could see them respond and get better throughout the scrimmage, and they're getting their confidence up, and if we can keep that up through these weeks, especially early on with a young team, I think that says a lot where we can go, late in the season. And, I think the coaching staff has done a great job of, elevating who we are even with a young team. You can see the maturity of some positions that you need to have step up, and I think quarterback's one of those. And so Coach probably will talk about it more, but, I'm excited to see, our progression throughout the season.
Yeah, you said they put out a lot. They also put their sweat out there in
they do.
August. And the temperatures have not been too kind.
No.
And that AstroTurf radiates the heat a little bit too.
It's amazing, though. You get those water cannons going, and it cools it off pretty quickly,
It does.
So we were checking the heat index on Thursday, and, it did a great job of coming back down. I think we'll be good with these 6 o'clock starts as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you look at the season they're about to embark on, when you have such a young team, you really, especially, coaches can say, well, we have X amount of freshmen. But some freshmen have already been here a year, and others are coming fresh off high school campuses. And that transition, given your background and what you know about freshman from high school to college, whether it's JUCO or otherwise, that's a big jump.
Yeah, and it's really about building programs. And in my career and in my experience is building programs, 6 different programs, taking it at the bottom, winning championships, and you can even see it with Hard Knocks with the Seahawks this year. It's all about culture. And what our coaches have done, established that culture, and really started it last year. And you can see the building process of that. And even this year with early practices and with the scrimmage on Thursday, you can see that culture building. So you have young players coming in, and eyes are wide open. They're like, this is a different deal. It doesn't matter what level you're at. You're still first year coming in as a freshman. But, Coach and I have talked about it too. Get them to fly around, work hard, play for the home team. And if you do that, you can elevate your game throughout the weeks, and I'm excited to see, where we go throughout the season.
Lynn, I think you may have stumbled on something. I think one of our segments should be a Hard Knocks BC football.
That's right. Well,
what about that?
I worked for the Seahawks for 11 years. So I worked, starting in facilities and worked my way up, scouting, assistant equipment manager at the end. So I've seen it at the highest level too, as well as far as football. So my background, even though I was coached basketball, I was football at the beginning. So kind of my heart is on the football field. I love watching it. I like being on the field. I like seeing the team and their interaction with the coaches and getting fired up on plays and, looking at alignments and things like that too. I find myself getting into the game a little bit more.
Tell people more about your background and your travels. Where did it all begin?
Sure, yeah. Started really in high school working for the Seahawks, had connections with them. The GM of the New Orleans Saints played for my dad in college basketball. So Mickey Loomis is kind of my connection to the Seahawks at the time. Now he's with the Saints. So a lot of the people that I knew at the Seahawks are now with the Saints, but I still have some connections with the Seahawks. And kind of was when Mike Holmgren came in, I was either going to go to New Orleans or stay with the Seahawks or start my coaching career. And so at that time, accepted an assistant position with Eastern Washington and started coaching women's basketball. So I was at the Division I level, assistant coach, and we had a young family moving around a lot. And I was trying to find my niche as far as coaching, and I couldn't get hired. I mean, it was hard to get a head coaching job with a young family, and I kind of found my niche with, programs that were at the bottom of the conference and took over the team at New Mexico Highlands. They had 4 wins the year before. In the third year, we won the conference, first time ever since. And since I've left and kind of started my career in coaching and went from same thing at Southern Oregon, 4 wins the year before I got there, 29 wins in our third year. That got me the Portland State job, Division I. Very rare that you go from NEI to Division I. I was able to make that jump, and same thing, 4 wins the year before I got there. In year 4, we won the Big Sky. We went to the NCAA tournament. We played Oregon in the first round, and that got me the McNeese State job, and then Metro State last year. And, 30 years of coaching, it was one of those things where I had 30 years of coaching, 19 years of adjunct faculty, 13 years of compliance. And I kind of felt like the push to go into administration. And my wife is from the Bay Area, and I saw this job open. I didn't have any connections to Bakersfield or BC, but threw my name in the hat and interviewed, and I think it was a perfect fit for both of us, and I'm excited to be here and really carry on this tradition of BC athletics.
So you sort of answered the question, why Bakersfield, your wife?
Yeah, it was really family.
A little bit,
yeah. Our oldest son, he lives in Napa with his family, and we have a granddaughter for the first time, and so that kind of pulls you back, having a granddaughter, and we were like, we need to get back to California, and I think it was time to kind of change careers for me. And I loved coaching. I was very, very successful as a coach, but I want to start coaching coaches. That's kind of what I've looked at, and helping these young coaches come up and learn to build culture and take teams from the bottom and win championships and get back to where we were, a few short years ago, especially with our football team, and do all I can to help these coaches out to get to that next level.
All right, so I'll tell you what, we'll take our first break. We'll have more with Lynn Kennedy coming up here on the Hard Rock Cafe BC Football Show. We'll be right back. Okay, here we go. And welcome back to the Hard Rock Cafe BC Football Show. I'm Greg Kerr, along with Athletics Director Lynn Kennedy. By the way, stick around because we do have some giveaways, season tickets, jerseys, a little bit of everything going on with BC football as they're about to celebrate their 100th season of football on the campus of Bakersfield College. And you've got a lot of sports going on there, Lynn.
Yep.
Before I delve into individual sports, what is your vision for an athletic program and for athletic teams?
Yeah, I think, we talked about it earlier with our football team, but just elevating who we are as an athletic department. For me coming here, I researched the tradition and the history of BC athletics, and it was really somewhere I wanted to go kind of put my stamp on the program and department and really elevate to be, one of the top teams in the 3C2A and departments. We want it from the top level down to be one of those departments that everyone looks to and say they're doing it the right way. They're not only winning on the field and court and water, sand, whatever it might be, but we're also winning in the department too as well. So just every day we talk about being 1-0 and creating that level of higher standard, and really excited about where we are. And I can't believe it's been 3 months. I mean, it just seems like June 1 happened yesterday, but we've had the meetings with coaches, one-on-one meetings. We've had a department meeting, and I really feel like everyone's bought in, and they're excited about the future too. You can just tell the excitement that's going on with our department.
You say you want to put your stamp on the program. What is that stamp? Is it enthusiasm? Is it a certain mindset? Is it what?
I think so. Just elevating who we are, the excellence of what we do every day, and for me, it's building cultures, and I've done it with teams in the past, and it's who you surround yourself with. So not only my team and staff that are day-to-day operations, but also our coaches and assistant coaches and the student athletes that we bring in as far as recruiting. And it's everything that we do every day to the highest standard that we can. And if we don't win a game, let's get back to it the next day and let's be better the next day. And I really feel like we should be the best department, and really BC Athletics should be the best in the 3C2A.
Can we agree that the food smells good? Because it just went by.
Just went by. It smells really good. So.
Yeah, it did. So tell me your thoughts on this, because the way I look at it is this. Sometimes if you've been here a long time, maybe like I have, you can get a little stale. It's just the next year, the next year, the next year, and you don't look for the small changes or maybe big ones. You have some outside eyes that you can come in and say, hey, how about this?
Right.
Is that legitimate?
I think this is a great example. I came in, I've been a part of FCS programs and seen those coaches, and some of them are my best friends, and just to see, having a coach's show and elevating who we are, and, getting coach on here and talking about the football team in 100 seasons. When I heard it was 100 seasons, I was like, we have to have a football coach's show and talk about football, talk about the other sports, and promote who we are, and let's see if we can get on the community. So I think this is an example of maybe just something different and try something new and see if we can promote it. And I think, we just have great sponsors that have stepped up, like Hard Rock and KGET 17, and you can see the community getting behind us. I know we've had support in the past, but I think just bringing a new energy, getting down in the community, creating those real relationships, and just talking to people about BC Athletics, I think that's exciting. And sometimes there's great ways to do it, and you keep doing it the same way, but sometimes there's a great idea that you can bring along the way too. Yeah.
So the other sports, let's talk a little bit about them. Touch on whatever you'd like, whether it's men's, women's. You got a full plate full of
volleyball coming up Friday. We have a new coach. Yeah, and she's done a great job. Stopped in a couple practices, but I think she's going to elevate our program. And Mallory's done a great job as far as recruiting.
She was fantastic at Taft College.
She did a great job there, and she's got a great resume and great experience. And just to see her work with her team in just a short amount of time, and they've done a great job this last week as far as their scrimmaging. And so I'm anxious to see them in a real game Friday and Saturday. They start 4 o'clock Friday. Our men's and women's soccer teams start this week as well. So it's a big week for us all around. And, going out there and watching their practices, and you could see the excitement of what they bring as far as their energy on the field. And I think for them, it's that next level. What can we do? How far can we get in the playoffs? And where can we take both of these teams to? So water polo, wrestling starts up in a couple of weeks. It's exciting. Golf here in the next week.
Before you know it, it's going to be track and field around the corner.
Cross country's got to meet. So it's been exciting to see the students arrive this week. And we've had students, athletes on campus the last couple of weeks, but just to see the energy and excitement of campus and to see all of our students back now, and to know that we are in game week. And it's really exciting, especially new as an athletic director, to see kind of the week progress. And I was circling this day because I knew the coach's show was coming. I was like, let's get to Tuesday, and now it's game week, so I'm really excited.
Yeah. And when you talk about game week, and you talked about the entertainment value that you want to have, other than the game on the field, what do you guys have surrounding the game, whether it's halftime or otherwise?
Well, there's a lot of halftime promotions that we're doing, and we've got several vendors that we've sent complimentary tickets to as far as getting them to the game. We've got the alumni, so we were asking 100 seasons, any alumni from football, they can come back, they can be on the field. There's food, free food, which always brings people into a game. And
there you go.
The president has a reception going on. So between those two, we have 300 to 400 people that are going to be there just based on those two receptions. So there's a lot going on. We have our halftime shows that are going to happen. The band will be there. The cheer will be there. We're trying to add some more value, too, with our video board. Hopefully it happens this game, but just elevating even the game day experience. You know, that's what we want the fans to walk away and say, we want to come back to a game. We're going to win, but now we're going to come back and watch the game as well because of everything else that's happening.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. The planning, really busy. Our staff has been busy the last couple weeks planning and getting ready, and so just this rest of the week, just kind of finishing up those, logistics of the game, and then let's go game day on Saturday. And we also have another coaches show, which we're promoting the other sports. So we'll do that before the game as well on Saturday. So Tyler can focus on the team and be ready and kind of bring the other sports in, and they can promote their teams as well.
Now, you spoke of the staff. How big a staff do you have, and who's doing some of the heavy lifting?
They're all great. I mean, I honestly, I have to be thankful for my staff because, change is tough sometimes to have somebody new come in and try a couple different things. But my team and my staff have been excellent as far as, going to work, working hard, adjusting to changes, and being there to be supportive as well. And you can see that in 3 months because I think we've done a lot as far as the end of the fiscal year, coming in June 1, start of the fiscal year in July 1, the changes as far as ticketing and, bringing back, adding the ticketing part of it to the football game. That's a big change. And just seeing the changes in the sports and what we're trying to elevate those game day experiences. But they've been great. They've been very supportive of me, and I can't thank them enough for all the hard work they've done.
All right, Lynn, before we let you go, I thought I'm going to do this thing called Questions in a Hat.
Here we go.
They're pretty basic, so just take one of those out there and give it to me, and I'll tell you what your question is. And your question is, well, I can't do this one because you worked in the NFL. So
okay.
I was going to say favorite NFL team, but give me another one.
That's a tough one, too. Right?
I know, but still.
Seahawks, but maybe Saints, too.
Yeah, I know, but you sort of covered that. All right. Yeah. Oh, this is good.
That's good.
What's your most embarrassing moment in athletics?
In athletics?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
If you want to go elsewhere, you can.
Well, I've never been thrown out of a game, so I guess that's a good thing.
All right.
I'm trying to think. A lot of times you question calls and stuff, and I've been wrong a lot of times, but it's probably more embarrassing when you yell it out and then you're definitely wrong. So I would probably say getting a call wrong. I think that's probably most embarrassing.
I'm going to dig a little deeper. Even as a player, did you have one as a player? Like, I can still remember a moment where I'm going, oh, my goodness.
But that's too long ago. I don't know if I can think back to that time. So, yeah, I'm sure there was many, many times all my guys watching this will hit me up with stuff that I've done wrong. So,
all right, good enough.
Appreciate it. Thank
you so much for coming on board. Lynn Kennedy, Athletics Director at Bakersfield College. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Tyler Thompson on board, the head coach of the BC Renegades. We'll break down the offense, the defense, the special teams, and who knows what else. And we're going to give stuff away. So stick around. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the I should say the Hard Rock Cafe BC Football Show. I'm Greg Kerr, now joined by the head coach of the BC Renegades, Tyler Thompson. Tyler, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
All right, year 2, how does it feel different?
Well, I mean, it's just it's a new year, same schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Outside of one other team, so I think it's just, we're back in fall, so I'm really excited to kind of get out on the field and see what our guys can do.
Yeah. When you look back on year 1, does that feel like the first pancake? Sometimes you just get to throw that one away and learn from it? Or
yeah,
what?
yeah.
Not that it was all bad. I'm just sort of wondering what your perspective was of year 1.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I think it's just, you go through the first year, you learn a lot of things, and I think going into the second year, there's obviously a lot of things to improve, but you're less stressed about certain things. You kind of know what to expect in certain situations, and I think there's a little bit of a calmness to you, but, obviously once you get to Saturdays and you get in that environment, you're back fired up again. So,
but how much of that also was the first time around administrative stuff? Because when you're not a head coach, you don't wear as many hats. When you're a head coach, you wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, this week is the craziest week because you have eligibility, you have, just making sure kids are in classes, doing all that stuff. It's the first week of school. And so I spent these last 2 mornings, I spent 3 hours working on everything other than football. It's just, it's still football, but it's like, making sure our guys are eligible, making sure we got all the stuff, transcripts, tracers, all those different things. So yeah, it's a pain in the butt sometimes because you have a lot. You do have to wear a lot more hats, but it's just part of the job. I knew what I was walking into, and it's just something that's got to be done.
All right. I know in talking to you yesterday, an interview we did for the TV side, you've got a young team, but how would you say this team is different other than maybe its youth?
Well, I think on the offensive side of the ball, I think we have a few more playmakers this year, so I'm kind of excited about that. We saw a little bit of electricity from a few guys in the scrimmage. On the defensive side of the ball, we have some speed, but we got a lot of youth. So, we have to keep things pretty simple. And so I think that's just, as different with last year, we got a little more speed on the perimeter. And so that's pretty exciting. And then in the special teams, we got all new specialists. We got new kickers, new punters. We think our punter's pretty good, so I'm excited about him to see how far he can bang it down the field, and hopefully we can flip field position and put offenses in bad spots. And so
we're just not using them at all. That'd be great.
Yeah. It'd be nice if we didn't punt at all, but realistically, sometimes it's okay to punt.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right, so before I get into the offense itself, because everybody wants to know quarterback and things of that nature, let's talk a little bit about some of the new guys on your staff. Who do you have?
So we got 3 new coaches this year. At position coaches. So the first one is Chris Bandy. So he was the Frontier High School coach last year. Yeah, and so he's coaching the running backs. He's doing a good job. And then, our wide receiver coach is Derek Vickers, and so you might remember him.
He was a dynamite player.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was a great player. I was coaching when he was playing, so I got a pretty close relationship with him. And he's grown up a lot. He went off to college, got a degree at Utah, played professional for a little bit. And so, he's young, but he's got a lot to learn, and he brings an edginess to that group, and he's doing a really good job, so I'm excited about him. And then the third guy we got is a guy named Clint Carter, so you might remember him. He was on the 2012 state championship team. And he's a really interesting guy. He's a veteran, was in the U.S. Army. I think he did 2 tours. So he's got a lot of life experience, way more than us.
He'll get their attention.
Yeah, and so, he's doing a good job, and he's a great guy. And so I think he's bringing some energy to that D-line group, and so I'm excited about those 3 guys.
When you get a guy, and I'm going to use Vickers as an example, a guy who played at a high level and is so talented, coaching guys who may not be as talented, how does a coach massage that and make that work?
Well, I think – I can't speak for Derek, but I think, a guy of his talent and a guy that played at that level, as a young coach, it's probably pretty hard when you first start because, whether he earned it or not earned it, obviously he was physically gifted. And so, his success might have come a little bit easier than some of these other guys. And so I think it's just a process of him trying to get in the groove of like, hey, it's not about me. I just got to show these guys what I know, and I got to develop these guys and build relationships with them and get them better. And so I think that's that's not exclusive to Derek. I think that's every journey of a young coach. We all think we have all the answers, and then when we start coaching, coach the way we were coached, and then as you grow and learn, you might find a different path. And like at the end of the day, it's whatever gets those kids to play up to their potential. So that's the most important thing.
All right, so quarterback. Everybody, whether it's media, fans, doesn't matter, maybe your wife, everybody wants to know about the quarterback. Where are you right now as you get ready for Santa Ana?
Yeah, so, we got 2 quarterbacks that have kind of been running and gunning at the deal, and so we named Isaac Woodhouse as the starter. He's a redshirt freshman. He was in our program last year. And so Tucker Brown is the other guy we talked the other day. And so he did a really good job in the scrimmage. And so, looking at last year, it's not a 2-quarterback system, but, we have to develop the room. And so Tucker's going to get reps, and so, but we're going with Woodhouse, to start the deal off.
And what does he bring to the table?
He's a super mature kid. He was already mature just coming in here. I believe he's 21 years old, so he was 1 year out of school before he came to us. He was with our program last year. He's got a really calm presence about him. He's a leader. Guys look up to him. Guys respect him. Guys really like him. And he's kind of a cool under pressure type of guy, which I'm really interested, how he handles the pressure of game 1, game 2, game 3. And there's going to be some woes. We know that. The guy's never taken a snap for us in a live rep other than the scrimmage. And there's going to be some woes, but we trust the guy, and we trust he can get it done, and he's definitely mature. He can get out and go. A big 6'5" kid that he can cover enough ground. He's not gonna outrun a DB or a fast linebacker, but he might be able to get away from an edge guy and get off on the perimeter and get a few yards on the scramble.
So what about the guys up front trying to keep your quarterback on his feet?
We're super young there, but actually I've been pleasantly surprised with those. Yeah.
And if you're not, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and it's the one position on the field where, you got to have 5 of those guys. On the D line, you can get away with it. Maybe you only have 2 D linemen. Then you run 2 inside guys or 1 inside guy, and you put a bunch of backers and just get guys to run through. But the offensive line is always really static and stable. Like, you got to have 5 guys, and they got to work together. Like you've been around for the Golden West teams, right? And they put 4 or 5 guys on the line, and they're twisting and stunting. And so, they got to be really smart. They got to play as a cohesive group. And, the mentality we've always wanted to be up front is super violent, super physical, get off the ball, run the ball, just like we did last year. And that's certainly not going to change this year.
So you mentioned early on the offense, you got some athleticism, and I read that to be maybe your wide receivers. Is this a team that could stretch the field, especially since Isaac can fling it?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not going to put any reservations on it, but I think we got a couple guys that all have unique characteristics to them. Like, we got, a really fast one. We got a guy that can get open in space. We got a really big, tall one. And then we got a couple other guys that are tough, hard-nosed guys that can get open and catch the ball. And so that group is certainly probably the most improved group from our team last year to this year. And so I'm excited to see what they can do with the ball in their hands.
And what about your running backs?
The running backs they're all young, right? So we have, I'm trying to think right here. I mean, they're pretty much all first-year guys, and I think we have. They're all different, right? We got kind of a shifty one. We got a really fast one, 10-700 guy, and then we have kind of a big bruiser guy. Not super big, but 200-pound guy that runs hard, and that'll just run you over. And so that's going to be interesting to see if we can use those guys match their talents with the scheme we're doing and seeing what the O-line can pave up front.
Okay. You're not naming names much, but as we know with BC football, a good 85 to 90% of those guys are homegrown, right?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. What about having guys who just grew up going to BC games, watching BC games, and now they're Renegades?
Yeah. I mean, obviously being a player there, living that and being a part of it, it was a super special thing to me. I think a lot of guys, just in the whole process of recruiting, they look at BC as kind of like a step down because of just the culture they were raised in, and then they get up there and they're like, oh crap, there's good players up here, and I'm not saying I felt the same way, but there's just a little bit of it because when you're 18 years old, you think you're the best thing since sliced bread, and then you get punched in the mouth and you go, oh, wait, all right, I gotta get back to work, right? And so that's still the core of our roster. We're still heavy local guys. And, I've always said this, the one thing with Kern County kids, or really just kids from the Central Valley, that you don't have to coach is just the grit, the toughness. And so that's always nice. And teams know that about us too. Like I got buddies down south, and they always like, oh, crap, we got to play Bakersfield, right? And they might beat us by 30 points, but then they come out of it and they're like, man, I just got the crap beat out of me, And so, and that's just the test, just the way these got the cloth that they're cut from, the way they're raised and living in the heat, and like for me growing up in Shafter, it's like, you grew up in a farm town and you don't know anything else to do. Like you just got to go out and you got to bang your head against a wall.
Yeah,
so,
no doubt about it. Now we're going to have a couple questions here coming up in a moment, but before I do, you mentioned, Golden West and things of that nature. I looked at the schedule either last night or earlier today, and I know you like home away, home away, home away. But, you have late in the season you have 2 away games in a row, correct, and you finish at home. But I noticed your first 2 games on the road are both 1 o'clock starts. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, so both those stadiums, they don't have lights.
Right.
So that's kind of a thing, and obviously we got to travel the farthest, and Golden West is certainly a trip. And, you can make a big fuss out of it, but, we've done it time and time again. And, the head coach of Golden West is a good guy. And at the end of the day, they set the schedule. We got to show up and play. That's just, we got to prepare our guys. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. And heat's not a problem with Bakersfield.
No. Well, Golden West is going to be nice. You got that beach breeze blowing in, so our guys are probably going to wonder what's going on.
Yeah. All right, I think we have a couple questions coming up. Who do we have stepping up? Where are we? All right, question number 1. Hello there, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. What's your name?
My name is Stephanie.
All right, Stephanie, you have a question for Coach.
I do. So as a vice president of a youth football and cheer organization, I'm all about building the kids. So my question to you is, what do you think that youth football programs can do better to help prepare the players to not just become a college athlete, but to deal with or better prepare themselves to deal with such things as like discipline when it comes to being a college athlete?
Well, I think, to answer your question, who carries out the discipline? It's the coaches, right? So I think the number one thing you can do as a youth sports organization, invest in professional development for your coaches, because those are the kids who have the biggest impact on the players. And so, obviously financially, it's always an up and down where you're at. But if you find a way to raise money where you have enough money to support your kids so they have the equipment necessary to play, I think you take the rest of your money and you invest it in your coaches because they have the biggest impact on those kids. And in my experience, I'm not speaking for everybody, what I've seen at the youth level is, I think they put kids in helmets now down to like, 5th grade?
We start at kindergarten.
Oh my gosh! So you have a kid that doesn't even have a strong enough neck to hold the helmet up, right? And so, the fundamentals are important, but I think it's also like just getting those kids to like buy into something, have fun, enjoy it. Because when you're in kindergarten, college sports should be the last thing you're thinking about. It should just be about find love for the game, right? The purpose. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Because it's going to make me better. And if you love it, you're just going to keep working. And so those coaches got to keep encouraging those kids, and teach them the right way.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I would also say that, you know, a good training wheels thing too would be flag football when they're very young, to get just the idea of what football is all about before you start tackling and hitting. That would be so, because one thing, and I think Coach would attest to this, the one thing that makes a football player better is the one that doesn't have to stop and think what to do. They already know what to do. And so I think flag football would be a big help in that way at the very young age. Okay, we have a second person with the question? We do? Okay. Yes, sir. How you doing?
Yourself?
All right. What's your name?
My name's Carlos.
All right, Carlos. What do you got for us?
I have a question. From all the teams this season, who's going to be your biggest challenge?
Well, I mean, if you look at traditionally, you look at the teams we've played in the past, it's pretty much, it's probably going to be all of them, but the three that stand out are going into week 3, week 4, and then week 6. So you have Golden West, or you have Ventura, you have Golden West, and obviously Pasadena is going to be a challenge. But then, coming out of the bye week, we have Cerritos, and they're a quality football team, and then we go to Fullerton. So, we have really 4 big powerhouse teams that are going to, very good football teams that are going to be a challenge.
And your team from last season to this season, how do you see them this season?
Well, it's junior college football, so it teeters every year, right? And so I think we were really old up front last year. Now we're really young. I think we have a little more maturity on the perimeter. Last year we were really young, and so that it just changes in different groups. And I've always said this: like, if you can line it all up and you have maturity in all positions, then you're going to be pretty good. So, I would probably say we're pretty young, but we have a little more talent in certain positions than we did last year.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you,
Carlos.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
All right. Before we take a break, Coach, I have called Questions in a Hat. So this is really lighthearted. So grab one and give it to me, and we'll see what your question is. Your question is, I don't want to go about your career. We already talked about that a little bit. So let's go a different one.
It's not very exciting.
All right. What is your favorite sports movie?
Oh, The Program, by far.
The Program?
Yeah, by far.
All right. And why, other than that it's a football?
Latimer.
Okay.
Yeah, Latimer. It'd be The Program, it'd be Any Given Sunday, then The Replacements. Because The Replacements is kind of a good story, underdog story.
Okay, maybe I should ask a different one. What's your non-football movie?
Oh, Top Gun, by far. The original.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. All right. With that, we will take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk Renegade defense and hear what Coach has to say. He loves that side of the ball. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Hard Rock Cafe BC Football Show. I'm Greg Kerr alongside with head coach Tyler Thompson. And before we get back to coach, we've got a couple questions from the audience as we have some giveaways as well. Giving away some jerseys, giving away some season tickets. Renegades getting ready to embark on their 100th season of football. And it all begins this Saturday, 6 o'clock against Santa Ana. I honestly thought when he said, who's your toughest opponent, you're going to say Santa Ana, because that's how coaches always think.
Yeah,
it's the
I was
game
thinking about it.
All right, who do we have? What's your name?
Hi, Vanessa.
Vanessa, how are you?
Good, thank you.
What's your question?
So my question is, what does a typical week look like for you as a head coach as you prepare for the new upcoming season?
Great question.
Yeah, well, right now it's just chaos. But once we get into the groove of the season, obviously we play Saturdays. Sundays, you get film and you break down film all day. You start getting an idea about a game plan for the next team. following watching the previous game and making adjustments and corrections. And you go to Monday, and then you have a team meeting. You meet with your team. You watch that film, make adjustments, and then you go out to practice. Any corrections you have, and then you get into the following week game plan. And then going to Tuesday, you install the game plan, first practice. Wednesday, refine it, and then Thursday you get into really for us. It's kind of a light day for us, and then you really kind of go through all your special teams that you've already worked all week and kind of game plan teams. And then Friday, we kind of do a little bit different. We kind of shut it down on Thursday, and then Friday we amp it back up, and we get some team periods, and we get some situational periods. And then obviously, Saturday you get ready for the game. If you're home, you're obviously at home. If you're traveling, usually you're getting on a bus with 90 guys, players and support staff, and you're traveling to the game to play. And then it's just repeat. It's a 7-day-a-week deal.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the question. When you describe it like that, you probably love a bye week.
Yeah.
Okay, we got another question here. Yes, sir. What's your name?
Michael.
Michael, how you doing? What's your question?
The question is, as a coach, it's a pleasure to see the student athletes grow and get successful. What is the best trait you see in a student athlete, the ones that succeed the best? What do you see? What's their best? What do they do the best to become the best they can?
I think if you're to really answer your question, like characteristics that we see in players that really determine whether they strive or not, it's just coachability. I think if guys are coachable and they listen and they learn, and it's not like we have all the answers, right? But if you put together a game plan, whether it's good or bad, right? If those kids can I guess absorb it and execute it on the field, that's probably one of the biggest characteristics I see in players. And I think for me as a coach, probably the most rewarding thing is watching a kid change from year 1 to year 2, whether that's character growth, right, or physical growth, right, or behavioral growth. That's pretty rewarding for us. Obviously, a lot of kids don't take to it, and those are the saddening ones. But at the end of the day, you can't worry about that. You just got to coach every kid, and hopefully they take coaching and they develop and they grow, and that's super rewarding for us.
Right on. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, Michael, thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
the question. All right, so let's talk a little bit. Before I get to defense, you did mention special teams. What about special teams?
Yeah, I mean, we like the specialists this year. We got all new specialists. So we got a freshman kicker. We got a new snapper. We think's pretty good. And then we have a punter who didn't punt for us last year. He punted the year before, Jack Smith. And then he was our kickoff guy, and he tore his ACL on kickoff, which is not good because that means he broke through the coverage. So he's back. The kid's been working his butt off, and he's banging some punts right now. And so we're really excited about him.
Where are you guys? The game's changed, especially in the NFL. But I mean, even in college to a certain degree, when it comes to punting and kicking, has your strategies changed in terms of where to kick? Over to the sideline or the corner or whatever.
Yeah, I think it all determines with the skill set of your kickers. So if your punter's got a live leg, then coverage becomes a major factor in how you scheme that up. And so, because you don't want to outkick your coverage, because then if they got a live kick returner or punt returner, then you're in trouble. And so we had to change a little bit of our punt team this year, so we can get coverage guys down there faster. And so, that it kind of matches your talent. Last year our punter wasn't putting it as deep. So then it becomes more of just operation, protection, get down there. And then obviously the place kicker, that just determines whether you go for it or not, in the high red zone or the low red zone. Yeah. And so we think he's pretty good. And both those guys kick too on kickoffs, and they're both pretty consistent. And so obviously on kickoffs you want to try and cut the field in half to limit the space for those returner guys. And so, yeah, I think, to answer your question, it all goes back to their abilities. Like, you got to kind of create your scheme around what they're able to do.
Yeah. When it comes to, just curious on this, the field goal, where is the range where you're saying, let's say it's 4th and 2, and you're going, I think we can make, where's the distance where you say, yeah, we got to go for it because we can't kick it this far, or?
I don't, we don't really quite know yet. I feel pretty comfortable with him about 35, 40 yards.
Okay.
From what we've seen. Obviously, we might get in a situation and, talking to Coach Alvarez, hey, we think we can get this one. Hey, let's try it. Let's see what his, let's push his range a little bit and see what he can get. and obviously those guys improve as the season goes. I mean,
True.
if their head doesn't explode like kickers do, he could get better, he could get worse. I don't know. It's just kind of a play it game by game thing.
All right, so let's talk about your defense. What's on that side of the ball?
Yeah, so I mean, starting up front, overall our whole defense is really young. They're a good group though. They're a fun group, and so but starting on the D line, we're really young. I think we have 2, maybe 3 guys that played for us last year. We had some guys. We have 2 pretty good players up front that last year they were banged up kind of half the season, so they played in about 5 games. And they're doing pretty good this year, so I'm excited about those guys. AJ Snow, Alex Snow is one of them. Laji McCall is one of them. And so obviously we just got a lot of coaching to do with that group. We got to be super sound. Our inside guys are really young. I like the group because I think they're super coachable, but we just got a long way to go. It's just right now it's just about fundamentals being sound, right, playing with great leverage. And so on the back behind them in the linebacker room, it's an interesting group, same thing, right? Got one guy that played a little bit last year at linebacker, played a little bit on the edge. The other guy that played the most last year, he tore his Achilles in the summer. Yeah, I was really sad because he really worked his butt off, and he looked really good in spring ball. Yeah. But hopefully, the kid's a tough kid. I think he loves football, so I think we'll get to see him next year. Okay. And so we lost him, and so we're a pretty light group. But we got some guys that can run. We got some smart guys. We got a really good freshman linebacker, I think, got a front tier. And so he's doing a really good job. And so, that group's going to be a work in progress for me. But I'm excited about them. They're doing a good job. We still got a long way to go. When you have a young defense like that, do you have to? I don't want to say. I'm going to use the term, but I don't mean it this way. Dumb it down a little bit and thin out the. Make it simpler because if they're thinking too much, they're going to be a step behind. Yeah, correct. You just got to be simple. Their capacity to handle a lot of information usually is pretty small, and it's nothing to the kids. It's just like they're in a new environment. They're learning new things. It might be similar to what they did in high school, but we just have different names for it. And so, we got to keep things really simple for those guys. And the most important thing, right, is eye progression, playing hard, running the football, tackling space, and then playing with great leverage. All right, so Santa Ana this Saturday, 6 o'clock. And if I recall yesterday, you said it looks like they have the same quarterback back who gave you a little trouble last year. Yeah. What can you tell us? Yeah, I mean, we don't know much about him. The film we got on him was pretty average. I think maybe we got like 8 clips. It's crazy that a college can't produce good film, and that's a shot. It is what it is. Like, obviously, we'd love to have film so we can prepare our guys more and give them a better chance to know what they're walking into. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You want those guys to be prepared and play fast, and have some confidence about them. Offensively, they got a new head coach, and so it kind of looks like they're doing similar schematically. But they're going to have some new things for us, and so our job on defense is to be super vanilla. And, just get it, like I said, get our eyes in the right spot. Eye progression's great. We're running to the football. We're tackling well. Yeah. So when you get into the season and when you do have more tape on an opponent, this is more of a curiosity thing than anything else. Do you have predetermined onside kicks or fake field goals or fake punts based on what you have seen from this team? Do you go into games saying, Yeah, I mean, you always look for an edge. And so I think, when you're looking at the kicking game, you look at like an opposing punt team, right? You look at their operation time, how they protect. Maybe it's something we can block. Maybe it's something we can't block. Like Cerritos last year had a really good operation time. What's the point of going after it? Let's just block and try and return one. So every team's different. It's no different on defense. I actually think once you get later into the season, you have more film on teams. And, it could go good or bad. You can over-prepare, and you can, over-analysis, paralysis by over-analysis. Yeah, so that happens too, and I've certainly been a victim of that. And so, it makes me feel always a lot better when you have a couple games on teams and you kind of see their tendencies and see what they do. But game one of the season's always like that. Everyone's dealing with the same thing. You just have a little bit on a team. And so you just have to go out and do your job and be prepared as you can be.
All right. Obviously, you want to win, but if I take wins and losses off the board, what do you hope to see this Saturday? What are the just must-haves?
I think, on the offensive side of the ball, don't turn the ball over. I think obviously with the young quarterback, we got to give him some confidence and not get too greedy with it. I think it's just like trusting what we've been practicing, trusting what we do. On the defensive side of the ball, for us, it's a line, eye progression, and then fly to the football and have a lot of fun doing it. In the kicking game, we got to protect, and then we got to flip the field. And we got to tackle in space. Like, we got to run down and cover kicks, and then I think in the return game, we got to block guys, and we got to get a hat on a hat and do that. And I think, overall, just from our team, kind of what I expect, I thought those guys did a really good job in the scrimmage, just behaviorally on the sideline, how they operate. We didn't seem too overwhelmed and in a little bit more stressful environment. And so with the youth, what we're kind of looking for is like a little bit of calmness, And so, hey, there's going to be things that we didn't expect come off on the sideline, and let's make our adjustments. And then we got to be on top of our stuff as coaches too. But we got to get our kids to just be calm, be in tune with the adjustments, and then just go back on the field and play.
You've walked this walk in terms of going from high school to the college level. You might have some freshmen that were actually redshirted last year, so they're not fresh off a high school campus. But you have a lot of kids that are fresh off high school campuses that will play Saturday. What would through your own experience, tell them about game one?
Well, I think it's just, do what you've been doing all camp. Do what you've been coached to do. Like, the game might be a little faster. You're going to see a little bit different looks, right? You're going to see different speed across the board. You get kind of spoiled in camp because you get used to seeing the same guys every day, and then they might line up a guy in front of you, and he's a completely different guy. Maybe he's a little bit better. Maybe he's worse. And so you just got to revert back to like, okay, what's my job? What's my responsibility? What's my eye progression? What's the technique I've been taught? And then, at the end of the day, it's about just the guy you line up across, just beat him. You don't care about the play. It's know your job and just beat that guy. And so that's what we have to focus on. It's not about, the outcome's irrelevant, right? Because if you do things right, you're going to get the outcome you want. Sometimes you don't, but, at the end of the day, most of the time, if you do things right, you make the least amount of mistakes, right? You're going to get the outcome you want, and that's all we should be focused on. Whether the game, I've shifted my philosophy. You can be in a game of 61 to 60. At the end of the day, you found a way to win, and it is what it is, and you have to go back and make adjustments. Like on the defense side, how did we get 60 points put on us? Sometimes that happens, but if you find a way to win by the process of doing things the right way, then a win's a win.
All right. Finally, your sales pitch to get some butts in the seats, 6 o'clock this Saturday.
Yeah, obviously as you guys know, it's the 100-year BC football, which is a testament to our college, our program, and what they've endured over 100 years. And then like what we always sell, we got 80% Kern County kids, right? So whether you know somebody or you don't know somebody, right, come out and support these kids. They work their butts off, and it's important to them. It's important to us. And it's a great environment for our community and our kids. And so I just ask you guys, if you guys can come out, it'd be awesome. Also, if you're an ex-player, this is a great game to come out because you get in for free, and then we have like a little barbecue appetizer lounge area under the Jumbotron. You can come out and play or come out and hang out, maybe meet some former alumni, guys maybe that just graduated, guys that graduated 20 years ago, right? It's a great networking thing, and it's obviously the one thing I wanted to do for you guys who have played for our program, and very important to us.
And maybe some guys from this 1988 national championship team.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Those guys are
legends. I pulled out one more for you. This is just one I want to choose since fans are coming out. What's your go-to concession choice if you go to a game and you go to the concession stand? What are you getting, man?
I don't think I've ever been to a concession stand at a game because
really?
I've always been, coaching at a game. I've been to a couple college games, but I don't know. What do they sell at concession stands? Do they sell tri-tip?
I'll be darned. That's a coach for you right there.
Yeah,
that's a coach.
New York steak would be my choice, but I don't know if they sell those.
You're at the wrong stadium, my man.
Yeah.
All right, anyway. For Tyler Thompson, also Lynn Kennedy, and everyone at Bakersfield College, and thank you to the Hard Rock Cafe. This is the first edition of the BC football program. We'll be elsewhere next week, and if I understand correctly, at 12:30. Until then, have a great night.